Rudy,
This is Flick.
we have some excellent new music to discuss this week. I'm excited. We're going to talk new music, and we're going to talk about the new X album, which we both like, and I would imagine y'all going to like it too. And then we have a very big topic this week.
Yeah, so we're going to rank the catalog of R.E.M. Worst to first. 15 albums, and we're going to rank them 15 to 1.
This ended up. I think we both like similar things within the catalog, but trying to really pick a number one, really pick a number two, ended up being harder than I thought. You will. There's some good back and forth this week. We'll do that next.
Yeah, right. This one you may well know, you may not know it, and if you don't know it, I really don't know where you've been.
You forgot? Forgot the magnetism of Robin Zander or the charisma of Rick Nielsen?
That's kid stuff.
It's just come up to 5:35 a.m. Kommen Sie bitte und listen to Kraftwerk.
I don't know, man. I kind of like Van Halen.
Well, yeah, Plum, you do. And you know why you do? Because corporate America is shoving something down your throat and making you believe it because that's what they want you to believe. I mean...
Okay, buddy. I was just trying to cheer us up, so go ahead. Put on some old sad bastard music, see if I care.
That was Big Yellow Taxi by Joni Mitchell, a song in which Joni complains that they paved Paradise to put up a parking lot. A measure which actually would have alleviated traffic congestion on the outskirts of Paradise, something which Joni singularly fails to point out, perhaps because it doesn't quite fit in with her blinkered view of the world. Nevertheless, nice song.
How about the tunes? I want you to want me. The Dream Police. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Your mama's alright. Your daddy's alright.
I get by because the people who make a special effort to shop here. Mostly young men who spend all their time looking for deleted Smith singles and original, not re-released underline, Frank Zappa albums.
Gang. Yes. I mean, look, you can play an E pentatonic scale at 100 miles an hour till somebody's ears burn off. You can learn that, right? But finding the tangents within the framework, therein lies the artistry, man.
God made your ears. You didn't make them. You gonna argue with God's ears? If it sound good and it feel good, then it's musical. So play it like I say play it. From the top.
That was Sweating Lunatic Iggy Pop, part of our Tuesday night punk pack, which is climaxing at midnight with Madness. This is Norfolk Nights with Alan Partridge, and we're in the middle of Super Talk. Super Talk!
Okay, welcome to episode 32 of the Left at the Dial podcast. And this week, we'll be doing something we haven't done yet. We're going to be doing a worst to first for the albums of R.E.M. So the way it will work is we'll each give our rankings for R.E.M. albums from worst to first. And then we'll put that on a weighted scoring system to come up with our combined rankings.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a big why now for R.E.M., but I think R.E.M. is more important to both of our record collections than our current show lineup betrays. They are a huge deal, and we probably owe them a couple more shows to get into the deep issues. But this is a pretty good way to start.
Yeah, and it's just nice to find a band that like we always have our disagreements on what it is about a band that makes them great. But we certainly agree that R.E.M. are great or were great. They're not really current, but a band that we both love and have a lot to say about.
Yeah, and in the 30 years I've known you, I've had several instances where I've needed to have someone consistently steer me in a certain direction, and they have to be a trusted music Sherpa. And I think R.E.M. is going to be a place where I'm going to need a little help with some of the things you love, I'm not sure I love as much, and there are things I love that I don't think you love as much. So as usual, like you were saying, we tend to have the same like touchstone bands and touchstone albums, but we tend to come at them very different directions, and I think today will be no different.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see how that pans out. We're going to get down to the bottom of where each album for REM ranks.
I'm with it. It's been some another interesting week for new music, even though we're all sort of on quarantine. There have been some interesting singles releases. I just want to throw a quick plug in for the Nick Cave cover of T-Rex's Cosmic Dancer. Nick Cave has become like such a master songwriter and is known for his songwriting, and some of his stuff is starting to get like timeless covers done of it. Maybe that's a playlist we can work on, is covers of Nick Cave. We'll see. But for now, he hasn't done as many covers in recent years as he did early on in the Mute Records era. And I think he's a master at covers too. Whether or not his cover of Cosmic Dancer is a masterpiece, yes, I haven't heard it enough to know. But I threw it on our playlist this week because I think I'm starting to come around to your point of view that not every single needs to be brought up. But I think if the quality is good, if the artist is big enough, or if the event is big enough, the music here is good enough, I think, to make the playlist. So I threw Nick Cave Cosmic Dancer on from this week's batch of new music.
And I have to say, being a big T-Rex fan, this is an album, like I enjoy tribute albums. They can be very... They can not meet expectations often, I will say, but hopefully this one does, because I love T-Rex and would love to hear a really good tribute album. They've had tribute albums in the past, nothing that I think is really all that worthy. So we'll see how this one goes. I mean, I guess I will also mention, since we're on the subject of T-Rex covers, as far as tribute albums in the past go, the T-Rex, Ty Segall covers that Ty Segall did of T-Rex, those are the ones that to this point have been very more than satisfactory, and hopefully the tribute album here will be as good as that.
Yeah, I think I've already done my story about that, but I did have a hipster in a record store on Record Store Day look at my records, and I was in Oakland, California at the time. I can't remember the name of the record store. It's over sort of on 40th Street. And the dude, it was like out of a movie. He just said, "You need the T-Rex album." Like, he was just like, would not let me leave the store unless I bought it. And so that is why I have it. There was like an angel hipster in Oakland, California that got that Record Store Day release in my hands. It will stick with me forever.
It was your high fidelity moment.
That's right. It was like the Johnny Cash character in The Simpsons. It was like my spirit guide to Record Store Day. It was just I'm 50 years old, but I'm Swedish. I can't grow a mustache. But this guy had the incredible, huge irony mustache. He was like 25 years old. So 25 years old with a giant hipster mustache. I'm taking their RSD recommendations. I'm glad I did.
All right. Well, so my big album of the week is Alphabet Land by X. I think we were both kind of looking forward to this release, and I have to say I like it a lot more than I was anticipating it.
Yeah.
It really is good. I mean, the thing I should say is it is X doing what they're good at doing. But that being said, it doesn't sound like any band going through the motions. It is very vibrant, very, very, what's the word I'm looking for here?
It's real shit. Like
vital.
Yeah.
Vital is the word I was going.
This is not a cash in. Like, this album has a reason to be, no doubt.
Yeah, it is very much. I would say, it's a band that is happy to be doing, like happy to when you feel happy in your skin. That's what this album is. It's like, it's not X trying to reach some new frontier or something like that.
Right.
It's just like, this is what we're good at doing, and this is fun, and let's do this, you know?
We've not done a show about X, so I don't know where or how you feel about their catalog. There are folks who sort of really obsess on the first couple records, particularly the debut. I really like the debut, and I know that this record probably bears comparison most to that record. But I have liked their entire catalog, to be honest. I think even the cringier synth stuff in the late 80s, the songwriting was still there. I also think the Knitters album is spectacular. So they've had many, many different sort of phases. This one probably is most faithful to that first lineup and the album Los Angeles, the first couple ones. I'm not sure that's my favorite era, but I definitely feel like I have to go back just to be sure, because this album is pretty fucking good. My favorite one is Under the Big Black Sun. I don't know if it's as good as Under the Big Black Sun, but it's not an embarrassment at all. In fact, the more times I've listened to it, the happier I am with it.
Yeah, for the record, More Fun in the New World is my all-time favorite, and I would say that's by a lot. I like their catalog overall. More Fun in the New World is, for me, like as good as they ever got, though. And yeah.
Yeah, it's my number 2, but neither of us are picking their first 2 records as our favorite. And there's like again, X fans. I wouldn't describe myself as like a lifelong nut, but I've seen them a few times. I follow their solo careers. I think all of them in their own ways. I like the Blasters just fine. There's a show Slash Records. We'll get to that some other time. But I tend to like everything that they've put out. But for them to come back under their own name in that lineup with material this good bodes well for humanity.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, so we're both in agreement. I think that the new X album is really kind of a revelation, I think, for me.
I definitely, I have to go back. I know a couple of the songs on this album were demoed for the first album, and I'm liking them a lot on this album. So definitely, it's going to make me go back to the first one. But I need some time with it. I think it's going to be end up being on the up there in my rankings of their stuff. I'm surprised how good it is.
Yeah, not really a dead spot on it. I like it a lot.
No, right, that's good news. We have good news this week, and we're not talking about a death this week. We're talking about a big birthday.
Yeah, which is good. It's 2 weeks in a row that we've had a big birthday to talk about, and a lot of big birthdays. We should mention, or we should say that we don't mention every single birthday that is meaningful to us, but I think it is worth mentioning that Willie Nelson turned 87 this past week.
Yeah. That's not. I don't know if anybody is making bets. I don't know if anybody would have bet on him making it that far, given his lifestyle. But there he is, and he still plays. He's still present. He's still Willie.
Yeah, probably the best living endorsement of that of the weed culture, or whatever you want to term it.
Yeah. Yeah, his lifestyle was definitely he knows how to have a good time. I'll put it that way. And he was here. Turns out he was here for a good time and a long time.
Well, I think it's always an interesting story. As far as since we're on that topic of Willie and controlled substances. I think his story is kind of interesting. Like just to mention, it's not so much my thing. It's I don't think it's for everybody or anything, but it definitely for him it was, I think, the key to kind of where he ended up, because he talked about how when in his younger days he was somebody who drank a lot of whiskey, and he would get mean and maybe fight somebody, and then the change over to weed is like just made a night and day. It was like a big personality change for him.
Yeah, I can't say I dislike the changes. I think
right.
I'm certainly not a lifelong stoner, but I've done enough to understand the appeal of his music. But I liked all of that stuff when I before I was partook too much of the of cannabis. Like I liked all of it beforehand. So yeah, it's fun in both contexts, but I mean, its historical importance is probably leans more just to the craft.
Right. Yeah. He always had that gift. He's been a great songwriter, I think, since his teens, if I recollect his story correctly, and wrote, some of the all-time greats as a teenager. I don't know exactly when he wrote Crazy or Nightlife, and those songs. I don't know exactly how old he was at that time, but those were definitely in his young days.
Yeah, Nightlife sounds like something written by a much older man. No doubt about that.
Well, so does Crazy. I mean, like some people I think are just like that, where they can write timeless songs at a very early age, and they sound way beyond their years.
Yeah, he surely was one. There was a passing that we've not talked about, but we should mention just because Tony Allen, who's, I think, if you most would say in his obituaries, he's in consideration for the greatest drummer in popular music. I know him primarily from the Good, the Bad, and the Queen albums, which is probably not where you would want to go to see his highlights, but Damon Albarn was a very big fan of his and has him on some Gorilla stuff and has him on the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly albums. But Fela, I believe, is where his career. I mean, again, I'm not an expert on him. I wouldn't probably if Damon Albarn hadn't played as much of or really been endorsed, co-signed for him so heavy. I wouldn't have gone as deep into his career. But he has stuff in the 70s that's, I mean, out of control good. He was definitely, I mean, he definitely played an African style of music, but he was influenced by what was going on in the West and really does like one of the best syntheses of it. So I'm sorry to drop that in, but I realize we forgot to mention that beforehand, and it would be remiss not to mention him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He just passed too. So we'll try to do a playlist of his stuff for in coming weeks, just to commemorate his passing. Cause that is a leading light, to be sure. Darn, I thought we were going to make it 2 weeks in a row. That sucks. But we do have R.E.M. We do have an entire catalog. Forward we
That's
must
right.
go.
So yeah, we'll see. Like I said earlier, this is a new thing for us. We're going to be doing the catalog of R.E.M. worst to first, then putting it on a weighted scoring system that we came up with between the two of us. And hopefully that will provide the ultimate answer just between the two of us, give us the ultimate data. We'll see how that goes. We'll just see how that goes. But at any rate, I think it's going to be fun to give this a go and rank the R.E.M. catalog from our least favorite to our most.
I think I'm into the scoring system here, and I really don't have very many hot takes, but there is considerable distance here between the top and the bottom. The bottom, there's not a ton of stuff at the bottom. There's more stuff at the top than there is at the bottom, but the highs are pretty high and the lows are low enough that you can't just count each album as one. There has to be some reward for being as great as they were. So I'm into it. We're going to see how it goes, but we're going to do all 15 records. We're going to have to talk at least some about all 15 records to get there.
Yeah, so first we're just going to go through our rankings and then add the points to it. So you'll kind of see how the scoring system's weighted as we go along. And then once we've done that, we'll figure out what the ranking is, and then we will talk about each album a bit more in depth.
Yeah. I believe I went first last time, sir. You may go first.
Okay. All right. So my number 15, meaning the lowest. So we're ranking 15 R.E.M. albums. My lowest on that totem pole is Around the Sun, which I should have written out the years, but I believe that's 2004 that Around the Sun came out.
Let's have a look. 2004 it is. Yeah, my number 15 is I consider of a subgenre. Although I'm going back to 1998, I think the lost Warner Brothers years. I picked Up as my number 15.
Okay. All right. So what that means is, that's for you. That's a minus 10
Yeah.
for Up.
Yeah.
And it's minus 10 for Around the Sun for me. All right, so I'm going to go next. Up is actually my 14. And so that 14 is a minus 8. So that's a combined 18 below for Up.
Wow. Reveal is my number 14. Again, my the dog end here for REM's catalog. I just it's this Warner Brothers period. So to me, like the distance between between Reveal and Up isn't all that much, but that's my 14.
Okay, all right. So Reveal is my 13. So I guess what it comes down to is you apparently like Around the Sun considerably more than I do.
I do, because my next one is Accelerate. I actually.
Oh my God! Oh
yeah.
my what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to talk about that in a moment. But oh my God, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah, I can tell you right now why, but we'll save it. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We should save it, but anyway, I still have to score Reveal here. All right, so Reveal. Okay, so Reveal gets a minus 6 for me and a minus 8 for you. So that's minus 14.
Yeah, so my Accelerate gets a minus 6.
Okay, minus 6 for Accelerate.
Mm-hmm. You heard me. Yeah, no, you heard it. That's right.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Okay, all right. So, okay, so my number 12 is Collapse Into Now.
My number 12 is Around the Sun.
No, you know what? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with it. I was rethinking part of mine, but I'm gonna stick with Collapse Into Now as my number 12. So that's a minus 2, and then
Around the Sun is my minus 2.
Is okay. So Around the Sun is a minus 12 total, and that's very wrong. But we will talk about that.
Oh my goodness.
That's very wrong.
I mean, I consider the Warner Brothers catalog problematic after New Adventures in Hi-Fi. But we got to go. We've each done 4, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So to me, there's a huge gap now between those 4. Although your Accelerate's not in yours, but it's a big jump up to me in quality to the next cluster from Around the Sun, Accelerate, Reveal, and Up are common crud.
We'll have to get to that when we go album by album.
Yeah. So what do you got next?
Okay, my next one.
Your number 11. This is just outside the top 10. This is your album that just couldn't make the top 10.
Yeah, which is Accelerate. But I really like Accelerate. Like I would say the first 12 on my list, I consider all to be pretty damn good. It's for me the drop off is only after 12, but we'll talk about that.
I would say I think what Accelerate is to you, Collapse Into Now is for me. I do consider Collapse Into Now to be a quality REM album, not a great REM album, but not one of those albums that you take home and play it and feel betrayed. I actually think that like the first side, I know by then we weren't doing side A, side B, but like the first side of Collapse Into Now is really good. So it's
I agree, but yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that in a moment. So Accelerate is a net minus 4.
Okay.
which is lower than it should be. But
And
anyway.
where's Collapse into Now? My number 11 and your number, what, 13?
Collapse into Now is your 13?
No, my 11.
Oh, you're 11. Okay. All right. So that's a +2. So that's a net
All right,
0.
good. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I guess I'm fine with it too. But yeah, we'll move on.
All right, now it's top 10. It's gonna get tight here. This is where we find out what's what.
All right. Well, yeah, number 10 for me is Fables of the Reconstruction. It's really just because Driver 8 is on it that it even makes it as high. Like I think Fables is definitely the low point of the IRS catalog. And I could almost put Fables, or I could almost put Accelerate and Collapse into Now ahead of it, but I feel like they're all pretty close. So Fables is number 10 for me, and number 10 that's a 4 for me. It's a +4 for me.
Wow, that I can't even process right now. All right, well, my number 10 is gonna be Monster, which is I think the last album of theirs that sold worth the damn.
All right, so Monster's a 4 for you.
Yep.
All right, so my number 9 is New Adventures in Hi-Fi. 9 is a 6, so that's a 6 for me.
Okay, Out of Time is my number 9.
Okay, Out of Time. Okay, so that's a 6. And my number 8 is Monster.
Okay, my number 8 is New Adventures in Hi-Fi, so we can clear that one.
Don't move too fast because I have to score these things. All right, so 8. Okay, so Monster is an 8, and also 8 points. So that makes Monster a 12. And so your number 8 is what?
New Adventures in Hi-Fi.
Okay, New Adventures in Hi-Fi. So that's a 14 between the two of us.
That's not wrong. Not yet.
Yeah, so far this isn't working out too bad. It's just Around the Sun we'll have to talk about, but it didn't. All in all, there hasn't been anything too crazy. It's still, it's just Around the Sun is the worst. But oh, hold on,
because you haven't picked Up yet, which means you put Up deep in your top 10. I mean, that's going to be the.
Oh no, Up is my number 14. So I just forgot. No, wait, I did mention it.
Okay. I must have misheard. Sorry.
Yeah, because I already have that fully scored. So
okay, good.
Up is a -18.
All right.
So
yes, it is.
Not to give it away, but Up is like between the two of us, Up is the lowest.
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 7 is Out of Time, and so that means it's a net 16.
My next was boy, I'm really getting self-conscious. I think I'm going to change. I think I'm going to.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to put Fables there.
Okay, well, yeah.
It's better than you say, but I get it.
Well, are you going to really go to the mat too much for anything other than Driver 8? That's where I came down.
Oh, yeah. Can't Get There From Here is definitely, you cannot talk about R.E.M. without talking about that song. You can't, and you shouldn't want to.
No, I disagree on Can't Get There From Here.
One of the best backup vocal performances, one of their best interchanged the the background and the lead is one of the better. Oh, okay. Well, we'll take it up later.
Okay, so Fables is your 7 then, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's a net 14.
Okay, I'm okay. I'm comfortable with that.
All right, my number 6 is Green, and that makes it a 12.
Wow, that's just sick. Life's Rich Pageant next for me, please.
Yeah, see, I think you're just doing that to piss me off, but
we'll see.
All right, so Life's Rich Pageant is 6 for you, which is
completely
nuts.
Yep.
All right, so my number 5 is Document. That makes it 18 for me.
Make it easy for you, because that's my number 5.
All right, so that's a net 36.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my number 4 is Reckoning, and that's a 24 for me.
Okay, my number 4 is Automatic for the People.
Wow. Okay, so Automatic for the People is a 24 for you. All right, my number 3 is Murmur, and that's a 30 for me.
My number 3 is Reckoning.
Okay, so that's a net 54. All right, so my number 2 is Automatic for the People. So that is a net 60.
My number 2 is Murmur. Murmur's going to win.
Murmur is 30, so 66. My number 1 is Life's Rich Pageant, which you sabotaged, and so that's a net 62.
My number 1 is Green, which you sabotaged, so suck a lemon.
Well, that was it. Revenge then? That
No. I posted my playlist to our playlist way before the show. The only switch I did was Fables, and Fables was going to be high for me, but I reconsidered. This was the top 10 was hard for this. It was very hard.
Yeah, I think basically. Once you get to 12, then it becomes tough until you get to... then it gets tough once you get to... I don't know exactly. The top 4, I think the top 4 for me are as good as anything. Like it's really hard to differentiate for me from the top 4.
Yeah, let's start with the top, because my top 3... Green, Murmur, and Reckoning, I swapped those around at different points. At one point in preparing this, I had each of those in my number 1 spot.
Yeah, I mean, going album by album, I think we should start from the bottom.
Right.
But
what is our bottom? Are you posting on our Spotify playlist for Left of the Dial Pod?
Well, okay, so you said you made a list already? I didn't even.
But I put it all the way at the bottom so you couldn't look ahead. And I don't want you to look ahead because I pulled out some songs that I want to talk about when we get to those albums.
Okay. Well, okay, so I want to go album by album and then talk about it, and then.
All right, let's do it.
Some songs. All right, so just a second here. Let me.
So Up is the quote unquote loser. It's our 15th favorite R.E.M. album.
Right. Yeah, between the two of us. So for me it was number 14. For you it was number 15, and between the two of us it's 15.
I think it suffers from the lack of a great single, and I know that R.E.M. But that's one thing I got to say before we go into this. I did go around reading what R.E.M. fans. There are I know people who are like R.E.M. completists, and there are people who believe R.E.M. is the greatest band that ever was, and all that stuff. Their version of what makes R.E.M. great, I just don't relate to. They're a great singles band, or they were during their prime. And their singles, like always, they didn't make the same record twice. That's why I think Can't Get There From Here. So it's such an interesting place in their story. But this album, I don't think has even a decent single on it. Up.
I Ate the Lotus is, I think, a good enough single. And I like At My Most Beautiful. We talk a lot about Beach Boys imitations.
It's all right.
And it's a really good, I think it's a really good Beatles or Beach Boys imitation. And I enjoy that. I guess I have to say this about the album Up. This is what I think, having gone back to listen to it again over the weekend. If this album came out now and R.E.M. was still a band that was active and being reviewed. I think this album would actually get really good reviews right now, which isn't to say I think it's all that good. I don't. It's definitely, for me, it's definitely the number 14 one. I think it would get pretty good reviews right now, in large part because of the lack of guitars on it.
Well, I mean, look, they're still great. Like they're still a great band who made a sort of middling album. Like it wasn't. They can't. I mean, the more albums you make, they can't all be winners. You know what I mean? So, there's even on this album, if this had been their debut album, they would have made it. People would have been like, "Wow, here's a band to watch," and they would have been right. Like it's not a bad album. It's just not good by their standards.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, for it to be a dead spot in their career, it's not a really bad dead spot.
But are we gonna avoid the? I mean, the elephant in the room on this is the switch out of drumming duties. I mean, we don't necessarily have to talk about that at this point, but Up is the album where the loss of the original lineup, I think, most showed itself. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, because of alternate percussion use. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, their original foursome really was drum-driven in a way that we don't talk about now because so much of their later career stuff, the stuff that we've all put at the bottom, isn't rhythm-driven like their early stuff. I mean, there's no big secret there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to it than that. I think just talking about the absence of Bill Berry is an oversimplification of things. I think too much gets made of it, and not that it isn't. Not that I mean, there's something to it. There's definitely something to it, but I think it's an oversimplification. I think it's been done a lot. It's been talked about a lot. Okay, so before we move on from Up, okay, so I think each of us maybe picks a song that we think. Well, first let's talk about the song that we think is kind of obligatory to put on the list, and then we'll put that song on, and then each of us can talk about another song, a dark horse that we can put on the list.
Well, it's got to be At My Most Beautiful, right? Like that was what was put out as the big single, you know.
It wasn't Lotus.
Well, there's only three we're talking about: Day Sleeper, Lotus, and At My Most Beautiful. Which two of those end up on the list? I got to admit, I don't have super strong feelings about.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, so I will go with Day Sleeper. I think Day Sleeper is pretty good. I mean, definitely, I'll be interested to hear you talk about Around the Sun, because I feel stronger about Day Sleeper than anything on that for sure. All right, so I'm going to put on Day Sleeper and At My Most Beautiful. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think we can do that.
And then do we want to include the song that has to be there as well?
That's a tough one, because are we ever going to agree on it?
Well, I mean, so this is, I think, like the textbook example. When we get to Out of Time, there's no way Losing My Religion probably, like that's the one that you have to include, right? We agree?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. It's hard for me to get too argumentative about Up, I'll be honest.
Yeah, okay, so if I can find it on Spotify, I don't know why it's so difficult.
It's there. Just make note. We can do it after.
Yeah, if you happen to have it up, feel free to put that in.
I can switch. Oh, no, I can't. Yes, I can. Keep going. All right, so what's our number 14?
Okay, so our number 14 is going to be Reveal. It's minus 14.
Okay. So I like I'll Take the Rain for this one as the reason to not give up. I think All the Way to Reno is the song, or maybe the most Imitation of Life and All the Way to Reno. I think those are the most known. I think Imitation of Life is obligatory. I really dislike All the Way to Reno.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that. I do not like All the Way to Reno either, and so it's a good thing we're in agreement, because then I think we can agree that doesn't get on our playlist.
Yeah, I'll take the Rain for the maybe deserves a second look, because it does.
Uh-huh.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Imitation of Life is like the one that you can't get around.
Yeah, it's obligatory for sure.
Yeah, and then you're going with.
I'll Take the Rain, but I just don't want Reno on.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with The Lifting for me.
All right.
All right. Now, are you adding these now?
No, I'm gonna keep my list separate.
Okay, you're making your own list?
I'll add. No. I'll add. I'm keeping track of the songs from each album.
Okay, I'm gonna try to. There's a little too much maneuvering here, but
right.
I'm gonna try to.
I'll try to manage the master playlist, but I'm definitely gonna need help at the end. But go ahead. I have to log back out and log in. So.
Okay. All right. So our number 13 then is Around the Sun. So I guess really I think we both had the same bottom three, right?
Pretty close. Different order.
Yeah, just a different order, but you have Around the Sun. Like Around the Sun to me is a very distant 15th. But
I look, the reason I don't rate it as badly as you do is I think there's a staleness to a lot of this that I'd say the last 15 years. There's a lot of sameness. The album, there's not enough to distinguish one album from another. They weren't being adventurous. They weren't trying anything. Now, in this case, I have to use my favorite phrase. They were trying some backward-looking concepts. They were, I don't know. I always think of this album as being like, it sounds like AM radio used to. It sounds... It's something they never really did again. It sounds like the 70s to me. It just sounds like there's a lot of the string arrangements, a lot of the heavy negative space and all of it. Like that acoustic strumming haunting thing that they really perfected on Automatic for the People. I think they milked that way too hard. Their early stuff really wasn't didn't milk that genre so hard as their late career. I think Around the Sun makes a case that there was still some life in the formula. They just had to arrange it differently. And so while, again, it's another album that almost doesn't have a single, I actually think the first two cuts, I think Leaving New York and Electron Blue are good. And I thought Aftermath was good, and I Wanted to Be Wrong was good.
I agree on the songs. I guess I just don't feel like they're all that strong. Like I feel like those are the strongest songs on the album. But I don't. They have a hard time making it against other R.E.M. albums.
Look, for their albums to be good, they have to either have a single or they've got they need a single as a core, and this one just doesn't have it. But the supporting cast is not as bad as the supporting cast in some of their other records, in my opinion.
Well, it's very much to me, I term this an album of also rans. There isn't really much that is like they're not reaching their lowest lows here, but they're certainly not reaching anywhere near their highest highs. Well, and so basically the first impression I ever had of this album, I can remember the first time I listened to it, and then listening to it again now, it's exactly the same feeling. It feels like an album that never gets off the runway. It just never takes off.
It's part of the reason you like Accelerate, though, is that Accelerate comes back with a very different palette and really is a return to form in some respects. I don't know. I think they could have ended their career before Around the Sun. While I think I like Collapse into Now a lot, we'll get to it, and I know you like Accelerate a lot, none of these albums had to be made. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I disagree. Like, I think Around the sun and up are lows, but I think they had a decent enough comeback. I think what they did after Around the Sun is good enough to say that there wasn't any reason to end it when they did. Like that to me is why I think the Bill Berry thing's an oversimplification. I think it's very easy and very often said that as soon as Bill Berry left the band that they should have just been done. I don't think that that's really the case. I think they had a low period after he left the band, and I don't think I would say it's true that they never were as great after he left the band as they were when he was in the band. But I still think it's an oversimplification, though, to say that they were done once he was out.
They weren't done, but the tension, there wasn't tension, the creative tension in the band that I think he was a source of a good creative tension in the band, is what I mean to say. And I think at that point, I mean, it's an oversimplification to because Mike Mills can write and can sing, like he's got a little bit of George Harrison, comparisons I think are not totally unfair. I mean, not the same guitar or anything like that, but Mike Mills on his own is also a real artist, but clearly there's like a Stipe Buck faction, and was really no checks and balances on that once the Bill Berry was gone, in my opinion. So it's not that they became bad, it's just that there was not. That's why Collapse in the Now is so good, is they even have to come out and say in the first lyric about how they're going to show the kids how to do it. Like they had to compete against their past at that point because of how clearly superior it was. Come on.
Okay, so I want you to make the case then. Like why was so I think it's true to say that, there's a creative tension between Stipe and Buck and then maybe, Buck and Mills. And like, to me, there was, because basically the songwriting process was always Stipe writes his lyrics, and then they write the music, and then those things are put together. And so I guess why do you say that that Bill Berry was such a pivotal point in all of that?
They I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but they basically Automatic for the People, if I understand. I mean, I probably spent no more time on it than you do by reading Wikipedia. So if I have it wrong, I have it wrong. But from what I understand is Automatic for the People represented sort of a fork in the road that Bill Berry didn't want to go all the way down, and it was obvious he wasn't going to win the day on that one. So they lost Bill Berry so that they could explore that end of what their songwriting capabilities are. They basically spent the last 15 years of their career doing that, is figuring all of that stuff out. They aren't as good at it. They aren't so good at it that I think it was a worthwhile trade. Like, I can understand them wanting to go different directions and that being creative tension, but what they gave Bill Berry up for isn't worth losing Bill Berry. That's all I'd say.
Well, I don't have a bad thing to say about Bill Berry at all, so I don't want anything to say that I say to read like that. But like if Bill Berry was against anything that was done on Automatic for the People, I would consider him incorrect in that, because I think that's one of their masterpieces.
It is, and I mean, his role on the songs that really define that album, the core of that album, is what? Drive and Everybody Hurts. Not really.
Those are the ones that he has a big role on?
No, he has very little.
I see.
Very little
Gotcha.
role. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't know. I don't know I don't know if they were doing ballads during shows, in the past. I don't really listen to a ton of their live shows. I don't remember them being really a ballad band in the IRS years. There's not much. There's a lot of acoustic stuff. In fact, that's some of their greatest stuff, but not like straight up ballads. That's a break. And if Bill Berry said that was a bridge too far for him, that's his business. That album is great, and they needed to do that, but they lost him for that. I don't know. Not sure that was a good trade.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I just I think I'm not really seeing why it was such a necessary thing to have him, and I don't want to say it though. I don't like the way that sounds, but it just I think people are doing easy math when they do that. It's just like, well, here a guy left a band and they did two of their worst albums. After this guy left the band,
He took most of the edge with him, is all I would say. Not all of it, but most of it.
I think it's easy to make that assumption. I just don't think that that's quite what it is. I think maybe I do hear a lack of fire in the band on Around the Sun, and I think that that's why it doesn't really get off the runway. I don't really think that that's because Bill Berry wasn't in the band anymore, though.
We can agree to disagree.
All right. Okay, so number 12 ends up being Accelerate, which I guess this is where we're different in our bottom three. This was in your bottom three, and for me, it was number 11.
I do really like Mr. Richards, and I think that's just I've always liked that. Supernatural, Super Serious, to me is it's mayonnaise for the ears. It's not. I can't think of the last time I went out of my way to listen to it. It's on playlist, but not too much else. What am I missing? What am I supposed to go back and listen?
Well, yeah, maybe it would have been a good thing to go back and listen to it.
Oh, I did. I like a couple songs, but it's torture. I have to make myself do it. That's why it's in my bottom three.
Okay, well, all right. As long as you're sure. I think Living Well is the Best Revenge is a great one. I like Man-Sized Wreath a lot. I like Supernatural, Super Serious, Hollow Man, Houston. Title track, pretty good. Yeah, it's not end to end brilliant, but I think the high points are pretty high.
You know what? I have to cop here. Then it's Michael Stipe when he was early on, when he was mumbling more than singing, and was less. He was less direct. He was way better as a lyricist, in my opinion. I mean, we are going to have to eventually talk about Swan Swan, Hummingbird, just what incredible language, how just absolutely spectacular and brilliant he was, and poetic he was, and lyrical. And by this point, the real reason I think, especially by Accelerate and going forward, I think his lyrics had become cringy, and I think he became cringy, Michael Stipe. I think he just became a self-serious ass and a blowhard. And I think it ruins Accelerate for me. So the musically, it's more interesting, but Supernatural, Super Serious, Living Well is Best Revenge, these all kind of fall into this cringy end of his lyric writing catalog for me. And I can't enjoy it. The literal stuff from him was never as good as the artsier stuff. Sorry, I don't mean to. You're an IRS era fan. You know what I mean.
Right. I do. I guess I always have this. There's always a tension in my fandom and Michael Stipe. This is kind of a similar tension to Mick and Keith. There are times where I really can't stand Mick Jagger, but rarely are there times where I disapprove of Keith Richards. And it's similar with R.E.M. There are definitely times where I really have a hard time with Michael Stipe, but not so much a hard time with the band. And so it's totally something I understand. When they're on as a band, I can totally tolerate some of the things that might be a little cringy about Michael Stipe.
Yeah, I think we're just a little different there. It's one of those things. It's like Bono hung around too long, Michael Stipe hung around too long. They were both better as singers in a band rather than like personalities on their own. They're largely uninteresting people, to me anyway. Like I would, if I was around either of them, I think I'd primarily just want to talk about music. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot else in their personalities that I really want to sit and get too deep with. I don't know. Michael Stipe by this point had become really affected and he was always kind of up his own ass, but he was brave. When he was doing stuff that was really brave and took a lot of guts, like he was entitled to that. I don't know. He was a billionaire rock star. Wasn't taking any particularly big chances. Like, what do you gotta be such an affected weirdo for? Why do you have to be such an insufferable ass? Come on.
Well, this is part of my issues with Around the Sun. Actually, this is part of what goes into that. And again, we haven't really said this to that point though. I do think if Around the Sun is as bad as it gets, though, that's pretty good. Like for a 15 album run,
yeah,
this is
You're right.
This is as good as anybody's ever had, and so I do want to backtrack and make sure we've been adding songs as we go, because I don't remember adding songs for Around the Sun.
Okay, hold on. My Around the Sun, I like Aftermath. But again, I'm sorry, Leaving New York. I think the lead track is indispensable. How about that?
That's the one. That's the one you can't get around.
You can't get around Leaving New York. I could take Electron Blue. I'm happy with. I like Aftermath a lot.
Okay. So let's make those the three, because I don't have one that I really feel any stronger about than those. Interestingly, Wanderlust, I think, is the most non-R.E.M. sounding R.E.M. song in the R.E.M. catalog. Like, wow. That there is nothing, you would not hear that and know it's, like if somebody told you it was a Michael Stipe solo album with a different band, or a solo song with a different band, you'd be like, yeah, of course it is, because it sounds nothing like R.E.M. at all.
Yeah. Again, I think that of the album itself, I think it has a sound that none of their albums have. And again, I do like their more acoustic and organic end, and throwing those again, I always think of that album with all the string arrangements. Like, I really like that sound. I wish the songs were better is all.
Okay. So then to add songs from Accelerate, let's see, the one that you can't get around. Let's see what
it's either going to be Supernatural, Super Serious, or Living Well's The Best Revenge. Like, I don't think there's any way around either of those.
Yeah, I don't happen to remember what the singles were. Do you?
Living Well is The Best Revenge, and Supernatural, Super Serious, I believe, were singles. I also believe both of them are on the Warner Brothers era compilation.
So Living Well is The Best Revenge was not a single. All right,
really?
So I have that up. Yeah, so that.
Oh, then let's grab it, because it's good.
Yeah, I agree. We put that on there, and then Supernatural, Super Serious is the one you can't get around. And
yeah, it's him. It's peak Stipe douche for me, or close.
All right, and let's see. Is there another one we should add?
Mr. Richards is my side. That's the one that I've probably gone back to most.
Okay, I'll let you do that.
Yay!
I don't know if I feel the same way about that track, but I'll be glad to take Supernatural, or I guess Living Well is The Best Revenge is the one I meant.
Well, look, if it's painful to do, everybody hurts sometime.
That's right. Okay, so
where are we at next? Is it Collapse into Now?
Yeah, so Collapse into Now is number 11.
I really like Collapse into Now, and I didn't remember how much I liked it until doing this. Side A of Collapse into Now is quality R.E.M. Anything side A to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think if there's anything about Accelerate and Collapse into Now for me, I don't remember those being well timed. As to it might be that my expectations were low when both of those came out because I don't remember being as excited about them at the time that they came out, and they turned out to be I don't know. To me, I think those are two very underrated records, as it turns out, and maybe need to be re-examined a bit more.
Yeah, Collapse into Now, I'm 100% with you on, and Mine Smell Like Honey and Alligator also are good on the side B. There's actually, I don't want to say it's great, but I'm glad they went out like this rather than some of the other options.
All right, and so the singles off of that.
I really think that first side, the Discoverer, is one of the best. They always have good kickoff records. Like their albums always start great. Discover is one of their better kickoff songs, I think. I could tolerate anything on there, but my sentimental favorite is for Discoverer.
I wonder if we'll find out that that's not actually the case as we go through and like see a really bad track. We'll have to watch for track ones now the rest of the way and compare track ones. All right, so Discoverer, are we calling that the one that you can't get around?
No, because that's not. It's not. I mean, you know the criteria I want to use, which is the most streamed.
The most. Oh, well, okay. I don't have any idea what the most streamed ones are.
Actually, you know what? This makes me angry now that I'm looking at it. I'm not going to use this criteria at all because All the Best is like one of the least streamed. What is wrong with you people?
Well, this is basically the case I'm making to you all the time, that you really can't go by this. All right. I agree. All the Best is great. I like Uberlin or
Uberlin is by far the most streamed.
Oh, is it?
Uberlin.
Okay, so we could call that the one that you can't get around then, right?
Yeah, we'll call that one that. Of course,
right,
it's got a douchey umlaut. Ugh, how douchey. Anyway, good. I'm pleased.
And then we got Discoverer and All the Best.
Well, that's very heavy on my wish list. There are Alligator Aviator is good. Mine Smell Like Honey is so douchey. I can't. It's a good vocal performance though. That's a hard one. I wish that one wasn't on there.
Okay, so you're not sure about what song you're picking then?
No, I'm picking Discoverer, and we have to have Oberlin.
Okay, and I'm going with All the Best.
Sold. Done.
All right, so we're good.
Wow, we should never talk about this part of their catalog again. We've given it enough time. All right, now it's going to get, this is going to get tough.
Wait, didn't we just agree a moment ago that this is a good album, and now we're saying
but I'm just saying, like, I think it gets harder now. I think it's going to get more difficult. What's next?
All right, so next I think we have the tie. We have a tie. No, we don't have a tie yet. We will have a tie after this.
Yeah.
So number 10 is Monster.
Okay. I think this is among their more overrated albums. You cannot escape What's the Frequency, Kenneth, at all. So
I don't agree that it's the most overrated because I think there is as many people that want to trash it, maybe more people that want to trash it than love it. I'm somebody that loves it, and I don't see it as perfect or anything. That's why it didn't rank higher on my list. But when it works great. Like I think, like going through the songs that I love on this. Yeah, I mean, what's the Frequency, Kenneth? That's one that most people probably agree on. I'm thinking, and but I also like Crush with Eyeliner a lot. I like Star 69. I like Bang and Blame. Like I would say there's maybe almost I maybe don't like almost half of the album, but it's really about that half of the album that I like. I would say the half of the album I like, that I love that half of the album.
I like Star 69. That's it. What's the Frequency, Kenneth? I think is unavoidable, and then you get your pick. Mine's going to be Star 69. I hate Bang and Blame, but I hate Crush with Eyeliner. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that's... But By the way, though, Crush with Eyeliner, that's that dichotomy, that Michael Stipe dichotomy, because the Michael Stipe lyrics in this are kind of annoying, but musically, I love that song so much, and I think I probably got to go with Bang and Blame as my my song off this, but yeah, I mean, the Monster is an example where the Michael Stipe, it really seems like an album where Michael Stipe was infatuated with the idea of being a rock star.
Yeah,
and
he earned it. It's his. I mean, he is a
Yeah.
rock star. He can pull it off. He's one of the great frontmen of all time. I mean, he is what he is.
Yeah, but it is to me that's the one thing that would make Monster sort of difficult. I don't know that I think most people probably don't like it because it's a very loud REM album, and that's not what they're used to. I kind of like that. Well, I shouldn't say kind of. I definitely like. I like the acoustic REM, and I like the loud REM. It's like Neil. It's like Neil Young. I like the loud Neil Young. I like the acoustic Neil Young, and works very similarly in the context of REM.
Yeah, I'm probably too hard on Michael Stipe because Michael Stipe was great, and he puts up with a lot of shit, and he always has, and he always stood up for his own shit, and he got even more shit for doing that. So like, I don't like his rock star persona, but I imagine that's the first time he was probably ever to breathe and be himself. So the things that I really like about his early career may be the result of sort of the pressure cooker of having to be him. You know what I mean? It probably relates to painful things. So like I don't want the man to suffer for his craft if he doesn't have to. The fact that he got comfortable in his skin and decided to let everybody know it is kind of on brand for him. You know what I mean? Like he was uncomfortable in his skin and let everybody know it, that he didn't care, early on too. I just remember I didn't go see them on the Green Tour when they came to Iowa City, but I remember somebody came back and said they yelled for him to do Superman, and he said, "We don't do requests." And I'm like, awesome. Like that takes balls too. So like I don't want to beat him up on the one end for the stuff I like at the other.
But he was probably particularly upset that they yelled for Superman because he didn't want to record that one. So
yeah, you could
have had something to do with that. I will say this. This is my final thought because I haven't mentioned this yet. There are songs where Michael Stipe writes lyrics, and I mean songs plural. There's more than one where he talks about the clothes that he's wearing, and to me that's definitely a textbook example of the cringy, how cringy Michael Stipe can be at times when he's talking about the clothes that. Like he's bragging about his clothes in lyrics. Like, I
get it. Again, we were able to get through, which is the album that has the Q-Tip song on it? We were able to get through the discussion of that album without bringing up that. We may not be so lucky. There are a couple of like cringy dimensions to this band, and they do all trace back to Michael. But a lot of the great stuff does too. Sorry.
Okay, so we can mention the Q-Tip thing later because
we have to talk about Out of Time.
Yeah, we'll talk about it then. I hope though that you're not saying you have an issue with Q-Tip.
What I'm saying is that Out of Time might be peak Michael Stipe douche, and it's radio song that's probably Exhibit A.
Okay, well, we'll be getting to that.
I know. I think we're getting to it next. Are we not?
We're not.
No. Oh my.
No. Okay, so yeah, we have a tie between. We have to have an 8 and a 9, and New Adventures in Hi-Fi and Fables of the Reconstruction both have scores of 14. So we got to figure out which one is 9 and which one is 8 somehow.
Well, we're both biased in favor of the IRS years, so I think you give it to Fables. Just for the company it keeps. But New Adventures in Hi-Fi, I think, is actually the last great R.E.M. album, in my humble estimation. There is a ton of great stuff on that record. And the single, Ebo the Letter, is one of their greatest songs, like, ever, in my humble opinion.
So I will pose this.
Yes.
We are biased, yes, toward IRS.
Yes.
So that means it affects our judgment in a negative way. So we would be inclined to go with Fables of the Reconstruction because it's
All right.
IRS. So maybe that means that we're wrong because we're biased, and so therefore.
Okay, I like what you're doing, but you realize that means that the worst rated IRS era album we're going to have is Fables of the Reconstruction. How does that doesn't bother you? It does kind of bother me. Is that their worst IRS album, really?
It is. I think it definitely is. I think, I mean, here's what you should do. Take away Driver 8 and then listen to the rest of the album. I mean, I guess where we're split is, I think Can't Get There From Here is not one of their better tracks. And you probably rate it pretty highly. And so I think the split between Can't Get There From Here is the problem. If I felt differently about Can't Get There From Here, then I would rank it higher. But I think I overrate it because of Driver 8, and that's basically what I examined when I was putting together my list is I'm definitely overrating this album because of Driver 8. Driver 8's a great song, one of their best, but that song alone doesn't that song alone shouldn't be what I'm rating it on.
Man, I must like different stuff because I think Green Grow the Rushes, Feeling Gravity's Pull.
And I like those. I like those songs. I just don't think they're on the level of some of their other stuff from the IRS years.
All right. So I'm willing to make it their worst IRS album, and I am. Is New Adventures in Hi-Fi good enough really to be slotted ahead of that? That's a little bit of a tough call for me, but it's defendable. So if we're going to come in with Hi-Fi at 8 and Fables at 9, well, I'm going to feel bad about it, but it's defendable. And if it's the only way forward, let's just do it.
Okay, so Fables, of course, I think Driver 8 to me.
Yeah.
That's the song you can't get around.
Yeah, you gotta have Can't Get There From Here, and then I'll let you have another one. Come on, you can do it.
Well, yeah, I wasn't saying Driver 8. I think Driver 8 is the ultimate. I think that's the alpha.
Yeah.
So
mine's Can't Get There From Here, and then you get yours. Yeah.
Okay, so then my other one. Yeah, I think my other one is going to be. I'm gonna maybe go a little bit more out of left field.
I'm fine with that.
Let me see. I'm gonna go Life and How to Live It for mine.
Can't argue that. Want to just throw in a quick bit of love for the video for Driver 8. Their videos were good. Michael Stipe had a really great visual eye. Again, he got a little up his own ass, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But some of those R.E.M. videos were great, and that really was his vision. He was way ahead of his time. Way ahead of his time.
All right, so number 7 then is New Adventures in Hi-Fi, and yeah, the only. I think it's an album that I actually felt like I underrated a little bit going back to think about it because like I think Ebo the Letter is great, and I like Bittersweet Me, and I think I kind of underrate the rest of it. There's other good stuff on there.
Yeah, Electrolyte's great.
Yeah. And I even underrate Ebo the Letter because when I heard that, I was like, to me, it just like the stuff that's good on New. I felt like the stuff that's good on New Adventures in Hi-Fi sounded. It didn't sound new to me. It just sounded like stuff that could have been on other R.E.M. albums. Like Ebo the Letter sounds like it would be very much at home on Automatic for the People. But there's I think another way to look at it is, if it was on Automatic for the People, it's still probably one of the best songs on Automatic for the People, even if you put it on that album.
I mean, it's one of my all-time favorites from them. There's not a lot of Drek on the album. It's a little long, maybe. They could have edited a little better, but Low Desert, Electrolyte, Zither, I'd take all those. So Ebo the Letter You Can't Get Around, I'll put Electrolyte in for mine.
Okay, and I'll go with Bittersweet Me. I think that has to be included. I think I don't know. I think that that's maybe a little underrated. I think that was also a pretty good single. All right, so we're going to move on to and you're getting the list, right? Just to make sure.
Wait, hold on. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then our number 7 album is going to be Out of Time. And by the way, if you look at the scoring, I mean, of course, this is a weighted system, but the scoring jumps from Out of Time getting a 16 to the next one on the list will be a 36. So.
Well, we are starting to see some very big jumps in quality, so it may not be exactly that proportion.
I think it's fitting if you look at what's coming after this.
Well, I think Out of Time is the first time where I walked away from an R.E.M. album and never came back. Until later. I just think it's. I think Radio Song is dreadful. Dreadful. Shiny Happy People. Dreadful.
Well, before you move on, okay, I guess just go through your list, but we'll go back to
Losing My Religion. You Can't Get Around. Literally, the planet has not been able to get away from that record now for it's literally coming up on 30 years. Enough. It's not that good. I
do think Losing My Religion is pretty good. I don't know where I rank it all time in their songs. I definitely don't rank it. I'm gonna guess that's like their most streamed of all time, right? Or however they do it.
Let's have a look. Yes,
well, anyway,
by far, by hundreds of millions of streams.
Yeah, and I don't put it that high, but I understand how that's. I understand the appeal of that, and I do like it, and I respect it, and everything. Out of Time is very, very all over the place, though, and it has very high heights and very low lows, and unfortunately, the aforementioned Radio Song, I agree. I think that it is one of the lows, and yeah, R.E.M. songs did feature two of my all-time favorite rappers to kind of just not very good results.
Yeah.
KRS One here and Q-Tip on Around the Sun. And I don't know. It was never more than just like, oh, that's cool that KRS won, or oh, that's cool that Q-Tip's on an R.E.M. record, and it's nice that they work together in some way. The results aren't very good though.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. Out of Time though, I think is I think it's far and away the most interesting Mike Mills record, I think. The Mike Mills moments on Out of Time, I think, are his best, and definitely the highs on Out of Time are like his parts on Out of Time, I think, are definitely some of the highlights of the album. Then you have, I think, maybe one of their worst singles, if not the worst single, and worst videos in the R.E.M. oeuvre, Shiny Happy People. I guess Kate Pearson is what links last week's show to this week's show with Iggy Pop and R.E.M.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's all right. I forgive her.
Yeah, I don't hold it against her. I don't think that she's responsible for that, that dreadful single. But yeah, that's another guest appearance. So this album is another one that's kind of guest appearance heavy. They've had a few that just like a couple of times, like Collapse into You had its guest appearances, and this one did, and I think those are the ones that are kind of heavy with guest appearances.
Look, everybody likes it. The big singles and stuff. It was a big seller. The album just did nothing for me. I like Country Feedback. I take that.
Yeah.
That's mine. Unless you were going to pick that as well.
See, REM, I guess is where we do have quite a bit of crossover because Country Feedback is my favorite song on this album.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so
we have to have Losing My Religion. We can't have Radio Song. I think if we both agree on Country Feedback, that means we have to pick another one.
So I think then it's either do I back up my words and go with Near Wild Heaven?
Defendable. That's a defendable choice.
Yeah, or do I go with Endgame? Or Half World Away probably would be.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way to go.
Half World Away?
Yeah, that would be my call, but it's your choice, son.
Well, I mean, but yeah, here R.E.M. I think is where we have the most agreement on a band. It's
so far.
Yeah, it just seems to be. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Half a World Away for mine.
Sold.
All right, so then number 6. 6 is where the quality really shoots up.
Okay. What do you got?
So our number 6 is Document with a combined score of 36. Document, I think for me, is one that I always kind of underrated because I felt like it had super high highs, but maybe wasn't. I realize now it was more consistent than I ever gave it credit for.
Yep.
Yep. And it really, I think, is in a lot of ways a blueprint for most of what the band did after this album.
Oh my God, I'd say the exact opposite. This is Bill Berry's resume for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, I think Lightning Hopkins is one of the most underrated songs in their catalog. And it's a Bill Berry clinic. And I would say the one I love is also like one of the great drum performances to get on popular radio ever. Finest Work song is great. It's the End of the World as we know it. Is as drum driven as guitar driven. Like, this is, to me, like where he showed he was the full range of what he really could do. Unfortunately, it shows that he likes classic rock like pretty much everybody of his generation did, and I think every drummer who came in after him tried like doing this and just couldn't, in my opinion. But anyway, this album was gigantic. It was their last for IRS. It was just absolutely massive for them, because they were always sort of bubbling around. They were always sort of around the fringes, maybe of FM radio here and there, but this one just blew it open. Really blew it open.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I think it really, like, if you look at it and compare it to what came after it, I think it's a preview of a lot. You can pull one song out of here and say, oh, well, that song is kind of the basis for this whole album that they did later on.
Yeah.
And I think you see a lot of that in there.
I know what you mean. I certainly know what you mean. I guess I always, just because I love Lightning Hopkins so much. End of the World as we know it, is that the unavoidable? I think that's the unavoidable song, which is a tragedy.
That's the unavoidable, especially now. I think it's literally super unavoidable.
Somebody has a completely uninspired and shitty pandemic playlist if that's anywhere near it.
Yeah, well, except for the fact that it's a great song, and like I wouldn't feel bad about being obligated to include it on a list such as the one that we're making right now. So Yeah, the one I love is also pretty unavoidable. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
your song.
No, Lightning Hopkins is mine, and I know that's a left field one, but damn it,
Yeah.
I feel obligated to get people to listen to that one and just hear Michael Stipe's like last great like word salad piece too. Like his lyrics in this one, I hate to use the phrase word jazz. I probably should have my throat slit for that, but it's as close to word jazz as he got. I mean, and he was great at it. He was great at it, and I think Lightning Hopkins is like he kind of took some time off from that level of intensity after that. It was so good. So yes, I gotta have it.
Okay, I really want to go with Welcome to the Occupation for mine.
So we're gonna all right. Look, I've said enough about Lightning Hopkins. I'm putting it on the playlist, I guess. Well, that's cheating. We can't not put the one I love on. You can't.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's just say that there's a double
yeah, we gotta.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna have this problem again. So
yeah,
I like this as a precedent.
Okay. So yeah, there we go. We've broke the seal on that.
Had to.
Okay. All right. So we're entering our top 5 now.
This is where it gets hectic. It's getting kind of hectic.
All right. So our number 5 ends up being 5 ends up being Green.
That is a national, international, galactic scandal. That is a galactic scandal. I
don't think
that's
all
right. Let's hear it.
Well, you have to look. You have to look at what's ahead of it. That's really it. It isn't any issue with Green. It's just basically everything ahead of it does happen to be better than it, and it's not a knock on it. It just I mean it's just one that I agree it's great. I don't go back to it as much as I do any of the ones in front of it. So it's my number 5. There isn't enough here that I think is among their, I don't know how to say it. It's just not big enough, I guess, is basically what I'm getting at. It's not big enough.
Wow. Well, this is something where you can't be wrong because it's a matter of taste. And I admit I am far more inclined to talk about like the era and the time than you are, but for them to switch from IRS to Warner Brothers, the expectations on them were unbelievable. I just can't. They had more pressure on them to pull an ace than almost anybody I can think of during that entire 80s. Like they were expected to be the next U2 with this album. Like the Joshua Tree really did turn the sort of those college radio most likely to succeed classes. Like the Joshua Tree really blew that open for U2, and they went from being college radio to being just global massive. And this album was expected to do the same for them, and it totally did. And it did because it's literally end to end great. It really. I understand why there are people who wouldn't necessarily rep for every single note. There's a little bit of a dead spot in there. I don't like The Wrong Child, but everything else on it, I just think of as being just a fucking clinic in what they can do. They had they over delivered on expectations when the expectations were impossible. I just remember hearing Orange Crush come out of the radio and just be like, I can't believe they did it. I can't believe they had because you can't underestimate what a big breakthrough that Document was. I mean, Document got him on the radio. Like it got him so that the meatheads listening to Motley Crue also knew who R.E.M. was and probably thought they were, whatever, but they were on the cusp of just changing the whole culture in a lot of ways. So anyway, Green is such an incredible jump forward in what they could do. They literally went to It was like their major league debut, and they hit the cycle. And I give them, they hit the cycle a couple other times. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know, on such a big stage with such expectations. God, I don't think it could be much. The expectations were never bigger. That's why I can't agree that the album isn't big, because the expectations were big. And I think it was a giant like pushback on the expectations. And it was like we got this moment, and they had it. They really did. I think it's huge.
Okay, and it was your number one? I don't even remember now.
Yeah, it was my number one. So okay. I've spoken my piece.
Yeah, I just, I don't feel passionate to argue that that's incorrect, but I just look at everything that we have the rest of the way, and I just don't think it's as good as those. But being said, I think making the top 5 of R.E.M's catalog, I think is definitely saying something. I don't feel like that's any sort of it's not detrimental in any way.
So is Orange Crush the inescapable?
I don't know. That's the hard thing, because I don't really feel like Stand would be the big single from this. All right. But I don't really. If Stand doesn't make our list, I don't think that that's wrong either. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you feel on that one.
Well, my choice for my personal favorite is You Are the Everything, which is why I think I don't like Out of Time, and I don't like Losing My Religion. I think Losing My Religion wishes it was You Are the Everything. You Are the Everything is superior in every respect. And it really does represent like an entire genre they worked on for another 10 years, and I just don't think they ever improved on it. So You Are the Everything for me is the heart of the album. Orange Crush, you have to pick Stand as the unavoidable song. It's what Orange Crush was big, but it was like FM AOR big, whereas Stand was
so maybe at
CHR big.
Maybe at this point, the precedent that we've established for the double, you can't get around it.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Maybe we just do doubles the rest of the way for the top 5. Okay, so Get Up and Stand. I'm gonna go with World Leader Pretend.
Also a classic. Classic after classic.
Okay, so that brings us to number 4, which is Reckoning.
Yeah.
And Reckoning was their sophomore effort on the IRS label.
Yeah, wow. This was your number 1, right?
No, this actually was my number 4.
Okay, so this could have been my number one of mine. This was one of my number 1s. This was my number 3. Ooh.
Yeah, so this is my number 4 and our number 4 combined. And yeah, I mean I think it's great. Like I think that like I don't want to say there's any drop off to Green or anything like 1 through 5 are just as great as could be. I don't not much else to say. I think let's see. Do you have anything else to add on this one?
This is a really hard one because South Central Rain is unavoidable, but Pretty Persuasion I also think is unavoidable just on its artistic merit. And then
don't go back to Rockville's pretty unavoidable as well.
I agree. This has 3 unavoidables. So if we went South Central and Rockville as our unavoidables, that's defendable.
Okay, so yeah,
no. Pretty Persuasion has to be on there, but so does 7 Chinese Brothers.
Well, I don't know if we start doing 3.
If we get 7 Chinese Brothers, Pretty Persuasion, don't go back to Rockville and South Central Rain. That's that is the cream. What are we missing? Harbor Coat.
Yeah. Yeah, there isn't too much. There isn't really much of a dead spot here, but I think those are like the best ones to go with. So let's do that.
Yeah. Wow. Reckoning. I'm not sure I disagree with its place fourth. I mean, I picked it third. It's close enough. I at one time I had this listed as my favorite because, again, side A, just that first run there is pretty astounding. And then Don't Go Back to Rockville is the reason to flip the record over. And that is just a fantastic version. And shout out to the 10,000 Maniacs for their cover of Don't Go Back to Rockville. That's a pretty killer form. All right, what's next? Who's
next at number 3, Automatic for the People.
Yeah.
And what's that?
All killer, no filler. Even the filler.
I would say any of the top 3 that we have here. At one time or another in my life, I've considered that to be number 1. So at times in my life, I've considered Automatic for the People to be my number 1. I think most often it's, I think the place that I've settled is Life's Rich Pageant is my number 1, and that's probably, it's hard to say if that will be the way I feel the rest of my life. But that's where I've settled and have been for a long period of time. Automatic for the People, though, I think spent a good time at the top of my charts.
I'm looking at it, and I'm gonna contradict myself. This is, I think our top 4 are all. You could make a case for, although I could make a case for our 5, but there's a case I think in all our top 5.
Yeah.
This album is pretty hard to argue with.
Yeah.
Wow, picking the songs is going to be hard because you can't. Drive, Sidewinder Sleeps, Everybody Hurts, Starry Kitten for me, Man on the Moon, and Night Swimming are all you could make cases for. Monty Got a Raw Deal you could make case for.
Okay, so how many did we end up taking off of Reckoning?
4. We've never gone above 4. Are we really? Can we hold the line to 4 on this one? This is really hard to hold to 4. Although Green is 2, you're tripping, you're bugging. You're bugging.
We agree that the top 5 is strong, so
all right.
I think we just gotta, the olive branch has already been extended, so.
All right, carry on.
Man on the Moon's probably unavoidable.
Yep. Everybody Hurts is definitely unavoidable.
Yeah. Okay.
You could make a case that you don't need both Drive and Sidewinder.
Well, I think Drive's better than Sidewinder.
Sidewinder does represent the Michael Stipes inner douche starting to feel more comfortable. It's like sort of the beginning of some things that end up bad, but in this form, it's pretty good. Night Swimming too. I think people forget how great Night Swimming is.
Okay, I'm just going to I'm gonna put out my dark horses and see what we agree on. So I think Ignoreland's a good dark horse.
Yeah.
I think Try Not to Breathe is a good dark horse. I think those are the ones that I want to stick my neck out for are Ignoreland and Try Not to Breathe.
Wow, because I want to stick my neck out for Starmy Kitten in part because of the William Burroughs B-side,
it's not on this album, so.
But Starmy Kitten it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what the William Burroughs thing is part of why Automatic for the People is great. It's that era that it's great. They they kept 1-2 punch over again. It was really incredible to watch how many great singles in a row they were able to get into the world. Starmy Kitten is one of the great. I don't know. I think it's way underrated, and the fact that the B-side is awesome. Come on! Don't make me not have Starmy Kitten on there. No Starmy Kitten, no Night Swimming, no Sidewinder.
Those are the ones. To me, those are the ones. I Try Not to Breathe and
wow. That's.
I feel.
I'll take Ignoreland. I'll take Ignoreland of the 2.
Okay, and I'll take Try Not to Breathe, and then we got Drive and Man on the Moon, right?
Yeah, that's just a concession for me underrating the album a little bit. I really should have fought for Night Swimming or Stormy Kitten. One day I will. It will be bigger quarry. All right, here we are. We're in the Holy of Holies.
Okay, so number 2 is my number 1, my personal number 1, Life's Rich Pageant, and I mean, to me, I think the 2 songs that I rank above any R.E.M. songs are on this album, and it's Fall on Me and Begin to Begin. I absolutely love both of those, and I love the rest of the album. Like, there isn't really a dead spot here. The only thing is, like, the only blemish isn't so much a bad song, but just like, like Just a Touch seems out of place. Like, there's maybe like that moment, or no, Underneath the Bunker is what I'm thinking of. I'm sorry. Underneath the Bunker seems out of place. And I guess, the one thing about it is it's just a minute 25 at the end of side A.
Yeah.
But it's weird. I think they could have just left that off. But it's not bad in itself. It's just so out of place on this album. And
well, it pretty much then it's got to be Begin to Begin, Fall on Me, Superman, and Swan Swan. If we're only doing 4, that, I mean.
Yeah. Well, do we go 5 since we're at the top 2? I don't know, because Cuyahoga, I think, is also pretty great.
I am willing to fight and die for Swan, Hummingbird, Hurrah. We're all free. Okay. What noisy cats are we? God, I love that song. You got to have it. It's got to be it.
I agree. I agree that Swan H is great. But these days and Cuyahoga are hard to leave off, though.
So what you're suggesting Superman doesn't belong?
No, I'm not.
You're wavering, though.
Yeah,
that was not a full-throated endorsement.
It is a cover. I love it, but it is a cover, and so maybe we could leave Superman off.
But again, I will throw at you that their harmonies on that are world class.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why this is my favorite album of R.E.M. I feel like These Days has to be on there. I feel like we have to include These Days.
I really think Superman was a dry run for Stand, even down to the organ. All right, wow. I want Swan H bad enough that I will make that my pick, and I will let you have run of the other 3, because I guess I don't care enough.
Okay,
as long as Swan is on there.
So you're adding them, right? You're putting the songs in.
Well, wait, we didn't agree. So I got Swan, I got Begin, and I got Fall on Me.
And then These Days.
You want Cuyahoga? These Days.
Now we'll go with These Days. I feel a little bit stronger about These Days than Cuyahoga, but they're both. God.
Driving between New York and Illinois as often as I do, like, you spend your entire day on the Ohio Turnpike, and you cross the Cuyahoga like at least 2 or 3 times, or different branches of it. It's the worst earworm on planet Earth, because Ohio feels like it takes forever, and you're basically singing Cuyahoga like Michael Stipe for like 5 straight hours. It's really hell. But anyway, go on.
Well, anyway, we're going with These Days, so that's
sold.
All right, so there it is. So that's number 2, and then our number 1 is Murmur.
I'm not sad with this pick. It was my number 1. I put Green was I switched at the last minute. It was Murmur. It became Green at the last minute. I'm still gonna rep for Green, but it's a tie. It's pretty much a tie. I have to give it to Murmur, I guess, because we did. But I don't know. I'm really shocked that you don't love Green that much. But we both agree on Murmur. No argument there.
Yeah, no agreement. It's my number 3, but I feel pretty equally about those top 3. What I gotta say, what would be better is if somehow Gardening at Night made it onto Murmur. Yeah. It would be that much better even. But yeah, and I will say another thing about that too is that the single version of Radio Free Europe, I feel is the superior version.
Really?
But it's a great song either way.
The band prefers the original one. I don't know. I did not hear the original one until that IRS compilation came out and it was on it. And by then, I'd already loved the single. I mean, Radio Free Europe, I know it's like really absurd to talk about R.E.M. as being new wave, but I remember Radio Free Europe when it came on the radio. I was living in Hillside, Illinois, and I was at the very far edge of the radio range of the student radio station for Triton College in River Grove, Illinois. And I picked up a ton of great music through there. And I remember R.E.M. being big in that area. It sounded almost a little bit new wave. And it was really like a super fresh take on that subgenre. Because by then, all the sort of synthesizer shit had really started to get samey. And for them to come back with that same sort of post-punk, spiky, just that feel, but be really organic, that was really, 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 really great. And so I'm just talking too long to defend the fact that I do love this version of Radio Free Europe. It really was the first most people heard of it, and it was the first that made people love R.E.M. I mean, yeah, the other one's really good, but this one's good. It's good. It belongs. It's
I think just it's the single version is just better. And Eponymous is the compilation that you were referring to.
Yeah, Eponymous was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but would you agree that Radio Free Europe talk about the passion? Those two are inescapable, right?
Yeah, you can't have an R.E.M. list without those two. And I mean, I dare you to try to make an R.E.M. playlist without having Radio Free Europe and Talk About the Passion. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's just another album with like two of their best all time. Their very first album is still the one that ends up being the top of our list. And we're pretty much in agreement that there isn't too much of a dead spot in this entire catalog, but their debut album is our number one, so that's really saying something. And Radio Free Europe and Talk About the Passion, I think, as good, if not better than, like definitely at the top. I think I put Radio Free Europe and Talk About the Passion in my top, possibly both in my top 5 of the all-time of all their songs.
Yeah, they're flawless.
Yeah.
They are perfect as is. So then we got to pick two more.
I want to go with Sitting Still for mine.
That was going to be mine.
See, we have so much crossover with R.E.M. It's amazing.
Yeah. At risk of alienating, I'm going to take Catapult. I guess having that. Yeah, I'm going to take Catapult.
Okay. All right. So we got Radio Free Europe, Talk About the Passion, Sitting Still, and Catapult.
Yep. Yeah. That's pretty good. I mean, again, you can't go wrong. I don't know if they maybe had put the original Radio Free Europe on Chronic Town, that might have been enough for it to have to be rated as well. Because Gardening at Night is world-class R.E.M. among their best stuff. For the same, it's great.
Yeah, it's just Chronic Town. Chronic Town would be hard to really figure out where it fits in. It's just not long enough. And I mean, length, not that I'm saying length is the only thing that matters, but we're talking about a total of 5 songs. And so that's, maybe half an album, depending on. So I don't know. It's just too hard to figure out where that would fit in the ranking, but it's certainly good. Certainly, classic R.E.M.
The one thing we didn't get to do by doing this show this way is we did not get to mention, and I have to do it. I apologize. Maybe it's for a future show. They were a great singles band, and they had a lot of good B-sides too. They took a lot of chances on their B-sides. They had some great covers on their B-sides. We agreed we weren't going to include Dead Letter Office in this, but they did cover Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith. That buys them a lot for me. So I wanted to mention how good their singles were and how good some of their B-sides were. And they are masters of the cover as well.
Yeah, they had a lot of great covers. A lot of great Velvet Underground covers. They covered Mission of Burma, Academy Fight Song.
Yeah, come on. That they were way. I mean, until the Mission of Burma really has benefited from history quite a bit, and I think their reunion albums are good. I don't know if they're great, but their original catalog has really held up pretty well. R.E.M. was on them way before lots of other people. Way before.
So I'm going to take issue. We should mention that you put together a list of guest appearances for R.E.M. members. You did not include "I Will Dare" on your list, and I do want to take issue with that.
Well, you may add it. I just picked the first 10 without thinking about that. Also, would you have been happy if I start posting replacement stuff? I mean, I think that's for you.
You want to know something? I would have been extraordinarily happy. I would have been beside myself if you would have done that. I would have been very happy. Because your list is called 10 R.E.M. appearances, and now I've just made it 11. So,
all right. Well, I didn't want to say 10 best. They aren't. They're just 10 worth a listen. There are others. I could probably swap something out and get in there. But since you mentioned it, I put up the 3 Golden Palominos vocal performances by Michael Stipe. They're from like that late IRS era. They're fantastic. The song "Boy," which he wrote with them, is one of the like the R.E.M. record that should have been and wasn't. And then their cover of Moby Grape's "Omaha" is fantastic, and Michael Stipe's version of that his vocals on that are fantastic. Do you have any Michael Stipe's backup vocals on Kristen Hirsch's "Your Ghost" is one of the best things he ever did. Their performance with Billy Bragg, Peter Buck, and Michael Stipe on "You Woke Up My Neighborhood," one of my all-time favorite Michael Stipe vocal performances. So more than I can talk about in every single case. You're right. I see you added "I Will Dare." I will pick one to remove so it stays 10. But yes, "I Will Dare" probably belonged.
Yeah, because just to fill in anybody on what that is. So when the Replacements recorded "I Will Dare," Peter Buck happened to be in the studio and played some mandolin and anyway, that to me that's like probably the number one, because it's one of my favorite all-time songs, and Peter Buck was on it. So, right. to me that's the most indispensable for me personally.
He did not play on "Life in a Northern Town" by the Dream Academy, but he did appear on that album. Unfortunately, his contributions are on some real crap. I almost included it, though. Peter Buck's been all over the place. Over the place.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's not a bigger music nerd on the planet, I think, than Peter Buck. And so you're kind of getting to that with the Mission of Burma thing. I think that, it has a lot to do with Peter Buck. Peter Buck is always somebody that I think has to be somebody that spends as much time listening to music as making it, and that's not that common. That's not that common of a thing. You either do one or the other.
Right. He did. Paul Weller really made the Rickenbacker look cool again in the 80s, but the closest an American got to making the Rickenbacker look that cool was Peter Buck. I know Tom Petty played it, but Tom Petty was not blessed with particularly good looks, I would say, and he did it in the 70s. So I don't know. Peter Buck is a legit guitar hero for sure.
All right, so we've done it, and we will have our R.E.M. playlist. So we have guest appearances as well as our ranked list, and we'll be back next week with episode 33. Not sure exactly what we're doing yet, but it'll be something good.
We'll see you then.
See you then.